was in a apartment complex at 4215 East Fountain Way. This individual had an active felony warrant for his arrest for felony evading of officers. Our detectives also had information that this individual was armed with 2 handguns. Officers in unmarked cars from the Magic unit drove into the area of 4215 East Fountain Way and set up a surveillance, saw Mr. Harris in the apartment complex, and during that time they were surveilling him. Over a period of time they saw several what appeared to be drug transactions where he was dealing narcotics to individuals that would pull up. The Magic officers made a decision to move in with their vehicles with their emergency lights on and to make a detention and an arrest. Prior to the officers making contact with him, Bert Harris got on a bicycle and drove southbound through the complex and exited through a pedestrian gate, and then traveled eastbound on Shields to where we are right now. One of the unmarked vehicles was a pickup truck driven by a sergeant from our Magic unit. He pursued Harris into an apartment complex at 4677 East Shields. It was at that time that Harris got off of his bicycle, was confronted by the sergeant. Harris then ran through the complex southbound toward a exit gate, a pedestrian gate. The sergeant got out of his pickup, confronted the officer, told him to stop, or confronted Harris, told him to stop. And at some point just before Harris got to the pedestrian gate to exit, he reached into his right front pocket, pulled out what appeared to be a black handgun or Derringer handgun, and turned towards the officer. It was at this same time that CHP officers from Magic were traveling eastbound on Shields as well with their sirens activated, and they were setting up a perimeter. As Harris turned towards the officer while armed with a handgun, our sergeant fired 1 round at Harris, striking him in the hip area. Harris continued to run out of the pedestrian gate, dropped the handgun, and was confronted by a CHP officer and taken into custody. Harris was also in possession of a backpack at that time. That backpack is on the porch. We have information that there is potentially a second handgun in that backpack, and we're waiting for a search warrant prior to searching it. We did recover a black Derringer handgun as described by the officer. We also have a witness who was nearby that corroborated much of what the officer had told us. We've also contacted another witness in the area who had said they knew Harris, that Harris was in this general area, had been involved in drug sales, was also involved in pimping girls. We know Harris has an extensive criminal history out of Southern California, a history involving auto theft, terrorist threats, as well as drug sales. After being shot, Harris was given first aid by officers on scene. Then he was transported to the hospital by paramedics, and again he's expected to make a recovery. The officer or the sergeant that was involved in the shooting was in plain clothes. However, he was wearing what we describe as a tactical vest from Magic, and it has a police star, a yellow star on the front of that vest. Again, one of the witnesses corroborated that they had heard sirens, and or that person had heard a siren, which is what drew their attention to the incident prior to the shooting occurring.